What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gym Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian, The Void. We skipped our Marvel Roundup so that we can do The Void, because there are a lot of things to discuss here in The Void. We're going to be talking about that Street Fighter trailer. It looks really great. Arjona as Maxima. Is this official? I thought James Gunn came on and started saying, no, that's not the case, or whatever the case may be.
Maybe that came out after I said, but it seemed like that was appearing in not the rumor mill part of the internet. That was appearing in the publications part of the internet. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Godzilla Minus Zero teaser. I don't know how I feel about it coming to New York.
Just gotta understand why.
Yeah, right? We'll see. But still looking forward to seeing what an extra 20, 30, 40, 50 mil he got for this looks like. Warner Brothers at CinemaCon. There's been lots of excitement coming out of there. We got the first discussion, the buzz of Clayface. This is a Barry Horowitz moment. I said, this is where we need to lean on for these characters in order for us to take them seriously. It can't be goofiness has its place, not with these characters. Hunt for Gollum cast. I never heard of this. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, Brian.
This is the Lord of the Rings movie that WB has been teasing for some time. And I remember Ian McKellen's kind of been out there spilling the beans, telling people he was coming back. Elijah Wood was coming back. They unveiled the full cast. They talked about it. I think the WB presentation in general, which we have a lot on here to talk about because Dune was on here and Digger was on here. I think it's one of the most interesting things going on at CinemaCon because of the merger. So their first real showcase since the deal was announced.
Gotcha. Game of Thrones first movie. I don't know how you feel about it, but Brian, I feel like it's going along the same paths. Although Game of Thrones has shown its staying power with some of the stuff that they've done as of late. Unlike Mandalorian, who, from TV to now its own movie, it's just smelling similar for me. But let's see. By the way, Brian, every time I see that Mandalorian commercial, I'm like, this is not going to be good. Even the title looks off. Like it doesn't look good.
It doesn't look Star Wars. It looks more like Flash Gordon, to be honest.
Yes.
Which that honestly was one of the inspirations for Star Wars. But anyway, well, we can talk a little bit about that if you want.
Digger teaser. I still only recall the first teaser that they gave for this, but there's been some buzz about this outdoing the, I guess, Rex Grossman character that was done in what movie was that?
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Well,
yes.
Also, Les Grossman, not NFL failed QB Rex Grossman.
So let's talk about this dude getting possibly a nomination for this sort of performance. Because this is going to be a Tom Cruise we've never really seen before outside of what he did with that character. Footage for Supergirl and Dune 3. And Amazon currently is they're doing this stuff right now. And
as we're taping.
And there's some Bond talks.
Yeah.
Or buzz about what that could bring. So let's get started, Brian. Street Fighter. I saw it as soon as you sent it. And I said, I got to watch this now. And it did not disappoint. The only thing, and you already know this, if you are confident in what you got, don't give away the goods, yo. Don't give it away. And they did it here. The same way they did it with He-Man, the same way they did it with Aquaman. They gave stuff away that should have been reserved for the movie theater because it's an experience. It is a wow moment. It is like people hollering like, oh, snap, but the more we see it, perhaps in the theaters it may be a little different, but that first reaction would have been a reaction that you see on memes. What were your thoughts when you saw this trailer?
Well, so I'm not as positive as you, but I think that actually reflects my own biases. Like I said, I think lines have been drawn on this show as they were in real life back in the 80s and 90s. So I'm a Mortal Kombat guy, but I am positive on the trailer itself because I like that, similar to what Mortal Kombat 2 is doing that Mortal Kombat 1 utterly failed to do. Street Fighter is getting you to tournament format, right? They make very clear, look, this is a tournament fighting game. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. Like, we come here to see the matchups. So the movie is making clear you're going to get the matchups. So that's number one. Well done. You recognize that. Number two is, I generally like the look of these characters, especially given that Street Fighter, the game, was a little more out there than Mortal Kombat was in the way they dressed the character. If you just looked at the lineup and they both have fantastical elements, but the animation in the Street Fighter games was a little more cartoony by design. And so I like the fact that when you see these characters, you're like, no, you have honored these costumes, the hair, like no matter how far out it seems, that is what people who are diehard fans want to see. So give it to them, you know? And so I respect that you see that throughout this trailer, as you saw in the teaser buildup. The part I agree with you with, and honestly, I don't think I needed convincing on this, is I think at this point I would have trusted both of these movies to not show me the finishing moves, and I would have expected them to be there. The special attacks, all that type of stuff. I think I would have just said, like, hey, if you're making these movies now, I'm going to assume you're not dumb enough to ignore that stuff.
Yeah.
So to see a lot of these special powered attacks and sequences in this trailer was a little disappointing, because you're sort of like, okay, they're there, but now I've seen them. So when we get to the movie, I will be anticipating when those things pop up. And so I agree. I could have done with half or a quarter of what they actually showed. I had no issue with what they showed, because the wire work, the superhuman elements of that, to me, were, again, faithful to how the game was, or like when it was on the board and you're at the arcade. I just didn't need to be sold on that aspect of it. But I have to say, like, I love that we're in a 2026 where you're going to have a Street Fighter adaptation and Mortal Kombat adaptation where both creatives seem to be focused on really bringing the game to life. And that's really cool. I think that could set us up much better than where we were 30 years ago. You always talk about the Street Fighter movie Abomination. I feel like the Mortal Kombat movie actually was a commercial success, but really benefited as much by not being Street Fighter as by actually being any sort of good movie, which it was not. So I am looking forward to both of these.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character, just in the little bits that you've seen, like the little bits they've given you? What character do you want to see more? I have a clear number one. So what character do you want to see more of? Thank you.
Ryu is
by far
the more interesting one, but I like the little touches of everyone else. The Blanca stuff was dope. I like that.
Good.
The little glimpse that they gave you. Like, see, they had their moments where they showed you just enough. Like, I was fine with them almost forming the bomb, the light
fireball.
Just give me that. Don't give me the
delivery.
Don't do it, yo. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I agree.
That's the type of stuff that you, as the company or the organization doing it, you go to the movie theaters and you record not the movie, but the reactions, and put them as memes of people reacting to the stuff that they haven't seen and were expected to see. And when they see it, they say, yo, they did it amazingly well. And it'll be in the reaction that people give you. But I hope it's just that experience is not ruined at the end.
It's, you bring up a tremendous point in these particular movies, because the way the games worked, as you know, was you had to execute button combos to trigger the special moves, which meant the character basically did a hitch and a load, kind of like a wind up, before they actually did it. So actually, for fans of the game, you could have done that for almost any one of these characters, and everyone who played would know exactly what was supposed to come next. And you didn't actually have to show it. I agree. That's a great point. They should have actually lopped all those off.
Yeah, man.
Before the moment of delivery. But you said, look, and I texted this to you, like, he's 38. I don't know exactly how his career will go, but Andrew Koji to me is on my list of most underrated, maybe like not properly utilized actors, because he has been in a number of ill-fated projects, right? Like he was a very interesting Storm Shadow in a very bad Snake Eyes movie. As you put me onto, he was an interesting sort of Bruce Lee imitation or kind of adaptation in the TV show Warrior. He has never he does a lot of bit supporting parts in British kind of dramas because he is British by trade. But I'm telling something about his voice, his look, his physicality works for me. And even in this trailer, when he's interacting with Noah Centineo, I can't take my eyes off that guy. And I'm like, he 100% to me is the most interesting entry point for this movie to me.
He is my number one choice for a Shang-Chi replacement.
I'm here for it if they want to give him a shot at it.
By the way,
he's a trained martial artist, by the way, not just an actor. Yeah.
Okay. So. The Copenhagen test, just want to briefly.
Oh, no. Don't do it.
Just throw that in there. Just to set people up for the future. It got canceled.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
One and done. One and done.
You know? And I'm interested in hearing what he has to say about that. Anything else to add to Street Fighter, Brian? I think this is getting people excited about what they've shown. People are I still think you're gonna get somewhat of a reaction because we only saw snippets of it. So we're gonna see obviously the entirety of it all and still be impressed. But that reaction is what I'm looking forward to sort of experiencing if it does happen.
Yeah, and I think for folks watching this, like don't get it twisted. Like neither one of us is looking for either Mortal Kombat 2 or Street Fighter to be an all-time Oscar level classic. That's not what these movies are. The template here is we're looking for like a Super Mario Brothers style of nostalgia capture, understanding of your IP, and we have a great time at the movies for a couple of hours. I think if both movies are that, now I'm on the record as saying that Mortal Kombat 2 is going to outdo Street Fighter at the box office, but the opportunity for Street Fighter is it's a fall release. And I will say, like, I am very excited about our October because our October has Street Fighter and Clayface in it. But there's not that summer crowding effect that Mortal Kombat 2 is going to have to deal with. So if Street Fighter is good enough, there is a world where people are like, hey, telling their friends, you might want to get to the theater to see that movie, in October. And so I am rooting for it to be, something that is memorable enough that we want to go somewhere with it. And, as we know with the games, there was a Street Fighter 2, was a champion edition or whatever. And I hope it does well enough for that. So I wish they'd chosen a different song. That was my only Blondies or whatever. There's some of these songs that are winding up in these trailers recently. I'm just kind of like, are we at the bottom of the barrel on some of this stuff? Can we not find any other?
Can we get original? Can we get
a little bit,
or at least inspiration from the original music? I don't know. Do something, but don't take something that's already done and change it up and remix it. That's basically what you're doing. You remix it.
Well, everyone does now, yeah. And this one was a little jarring for me in that sense, but I didn't take away from the footage. So yeah, we're both on board for both of these movies, but it'd be I think we're both hoping that we walk out of both feeling like, all right, like we now have a real adaptation of two classic games
and future prospects, right?
Yeah.
Arjona as Maxima. Brian sent this to me, or I sent it to Brian. I don't know, but I know he texted me this. Fire the agent. You have to at least consider it after what happens with this film. If it doesn't land the way we have a sort of feeling that it could not land, because again, regardless of what Superman did, it didn't do what it needed to do for the excitement that it needed to bring to the DCU. It didn't do it. You can lie to yourself all you want, but it didn't do it. But now,
it was not Iron Man. It was what Iron Man was to the MCU, Superman was not to the DCU. It's not a conversation. Sorry. No. That's not to say it was a bad movie, but it didn't have the same cultural impact.
Yeah. The problem with this movie for her is that there is nowhere else to go after this, especially if it doesn't land, especially if the people don't like it, especially if James Gunn uses it as, again, what I said, a goofy, funny, awkward situation throughout the film. Perhaps, I don't know, because again, she's supposed to be wanting Superman and Lois already has him. And is there going to be that thing? We shall see. But after that, there's nothing else. And if people hate it, because it's obvious that James Gunn likes Arjona, and we thought he liked her for Wonder Woman, but instead it's this. And who knows if Mr. Momoa had anything to do with that as well. So if this doesn't land, I doubt that she can't come back. I doubt that she can't come back. I think she has this is going to be one of those bumps in the road for her. Your thoughts?
So her casting, just to clarify what we were talking about at the outset, her casting has been 100% confirmed. She is in the movie. Her role has not been 100% confirmed. So that may explain why you're getting the James Gunn is not willing to sign off on Maxima as the part. But by all accounts, it's being reported that is who she's playing.
Okay.
And she won from among 4 finalists that included, we had talked about Ava DiMinici in a recent show. At one point seemed like the leader. I think Grace Van Patten was also mentioned. Sydney Chandler, who you would know, who people would know from Alien Earth, was also, those were the 4 finalists for this role. Uh-huh. The reason I texted you that, and I did it a little tongue in cheek, that's extreme, obviously, but the reason I texted you that is that I think of Adria Arjona as someone who's on the cusp of big things in the wake of her turn in Andor, among other parts. To parlay that momentum into this choice, if it is Maxima, is a massive risk from my seat. And I think I can make a case that it's bad advice.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. So one is, as Pablo referenced, like, where is this part going? So if you play it well, and we would expect her to play it well, what is your upside here? You're not going to be the lead of anything coming off it. You kind of know that it's probably, I don't know what the odds would be. It's probably, what do we think, 50 to 60% at least odds. This is the last movie in this version of the DCU. So you're signing up to be, call it the first or second female lead in almost like a movie that's more akin to like Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, or The Flash, where everyone knows like this is it. And so if it winds up commercially not succeeding or not doing what it's supposed to, you're certainly not going to be the lead wearing the brunt of that, number one, but it's going to be on you. It's going to be on your resume a little bit. And it might limit your opportunities elsewhere.
Limited in the sense, I believe, in negotiation for stuff. Like if
there was a conversation about Wonder Woman with James Gunn at the helm, why wouldn't there necessarily be a conversation about that with whoever might come next? Like, why? To me, like, you could say that doesn't take her out of the running for that, but
I think so. After doing this,
help her chances. Yeah. It doesn't help her chances to be in a decent movie.
After doing this, Brian, I don't think she gets that. I don't think I want to see. I want to see her with fresh eyes as Wonder Woman, not as somebody who was, it just takes you out of the fantasy somewhat.
Yeah, we've seen actors make those pivots. That has happened before, but like, I also think too, I think she was ready to be the lead of something. And remember, they were talking about spinning off Bix to be the lead of something in Andor. And I'm not talking about whether they should have or shouldn't. I'm simply saying they thought enough of her performance and her character as the lead supporting female role in that series to make her the lead of something. And to me, like, you're definitely signing up to not be the lead of this. Like, you're probably the 5th or 6th build character in this movie, right? Because it's like Corn Sweat, Holt, Brosnahan, Brainiac. So that's 4 right there. Even before I get to you on the call sheet, it's like you kind of already have done that. This doesn't really, in my estimation, raise your profile or launch you into other things in a way that if you were Diana, okay, fine, no doubt, like that would be a huge career maker for you.
I just don't think this character, especially with the talks of Green Lantern showing up in this, and again,
right, I forgot. Sorry, yeah, Aaron Pierre it clearly would have been.
And there's obviously, I don't know if Mr. Terrific makes there are other characters that I'm more interested in seeing. I don't know how you're going to be able to share the screen. I don't know how you're going to be able to stand out. Because in order for you to stand out, the performances have to be grand. But do I care about this character and what she's doing? Let's see. Because if people don't care, it's going to be forgettable. And
I was going to say, though, what if she steals? But that's fine. Okay, let's say she steals every scene she's in. Then what? That's not Colin. If you think about it, like Colin Farrell steals scenes in The Batman.
Yes.
Right? Where does that lead? He gets his own show and he gets nominated for an Emmy. If she steals scenes as Maxima, where does that lead? You're still Maxima. There's no Maxima movie coming.
Or show.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm like, that to me feels like bad Asian,
has there ever been a
white.
comic book of Maxima?
I don't believe so. No.
But there you go.
I don't think there's ever been a named comic book for it. No.
But there you go. Why is Maxima in this? Because James Gunn wants to put you in this 3-way love triangle and make it awkward and funny. That's my prediction.
I agree with you.
Sight.
I agree with you. So that's why I say it's an agent issue as much as an actress issue. Because agents, part of their job is to be like, you get to say you were in a DCU movie directed by James Gunn, but this might not be the right move for you in the long run. So
you think Jason has something to do with it? Because if I would have been Jason, like, yo, have her do Wonder Woman, yo. Have her do Wonder Woman. She needs to be Wonder Woman, yo. That go for that.
How would he not be advising that? I mean, how would he not be pushing that? I don't know. I mean,
it's like Jason, you got your Lobo, the dream job. You think the dream job was for Maxima? Who the hell was thinking about Maxima? Who thought of when I grow up? You know what I'm saying? Nobody, yo. Nobody.
Maybe he's pitching the studio on like a Lobo and Maxima streaming show. I'm like, all right, good luck.
Probably, but I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go, but let's see. I think it's going to nowhere.
So let me ask you one other question though, because we don't know where the Wonder Woman discussion was. We know that she was one of the leading fan castings. We know that James Gunn just said he likes Adria Arjona, and he, in fairness to James Gunn, he has backed up that talk because he did cast her in a movie, just not presumably as Wonder Woman. To me, I'm also trying to maybe stretch or read between the tea leaves that this is one more sign that Wonder Woman is off limits because of the merger.
Just like Batman is off limits, just like any other character right now. That's why I keep saying Man of Tomorrow is the test, baby. Is the test to see whether or not we continue with James Gunn. Because if it doesn't do numbers, it's over. Was it $107 billion or $81 billion that we owe?
Well, the debt is $80 billion to start.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the number. Yeah.
Whatever. The fact that it's billions in debt, I want hits. If your joint don't hit, like the MCU smacked everybody when it came, and it had everybody going 3-4 times to see a movie, if that doesn't do that, then we're not in business. We can't.
I think he's done regardless, as I've said, but I do think there's a little bit of just this whiff of Wonder Woman is in the vault right now with Batman. And Ellison and Zazoff are like, there will be no movement on those characters until this deal closes and new ownership has a say on what to do about that.
Yeah. Godzilla Minus Zero teaser. What did you think? I saw it. I think not the only memorable thing, but the only thing that I have etched in my brain is the size comparison to the Statue of Liberty. Because it was just a teaser. Like this is a teaser, right?
That's the only thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
This guy understands. Now, this guy maybe by necessity understands it because he has had so little money to work with. And that that's going to include, what you put in the teaser and promote. Perfect. I know almost nothing about what I'm going to see. Great, because you made an Academy Award winning first movie. You don't need to show me anything. I know he's coming back, so I got to see him pop out of the water in a dramatic shot that looked very cool. I got a little tease of, yes, why is he standing next to the Statue of Liberty? You need to answer that question. I didn't need to see any kaiju action of any kind. Thank you for not giving it to me. This teaser was great. It was everything I would wanted to see. Yeah, I think, by the way, you gave him too much credit. I think officially the budget for this is $25 million. So he went from 10 to 25. He got another 15.
Yeah,
yeah. If you gave him 30 or 40, I think he still would be like, I would kill for 30 or 40.
Let's see how this one does. Let's say the executives are thinking, was this a fluke or can this guy really deliver? Let's see what he does with this sequel.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start dreaming here. I'm gonna put something into the universe and hope that it happens. If he delivers on this again, so then it's not a fluke, right? Then you're like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, knows how to tell drama, knows how to make creatures. Someday, when they decide to really make Voltron, call this guy.
Yeah, I should have just stopped. I just should have stopped you and just would be like, Voltron, right? Give him $150 million to do Voltron.
This guy who made you care about the humans in a Godzilla movie and made Godzilla truly fearsome with a $10 million budget.
Absolutely. The thing about the Voltron that we'll probably see is that they did what they do with Godzilla movies. You don't care about the people. You just care to go see the fights and the transformations and all that other stuff. This dude will make you care about the characters because we cared about the characters growing up watching Voltron, Keith and Hunk and all that. We care about all of them. Prince Lotor and his gray area sort of thing.
Yeah.
There were possibilities, but you guys don't care about that. And you're giving us something that we perhaps will enjoy as entertainment, popping up some popcorn while having conversations with somebody else. But it isn't going to be what Godzilla Minus One did, and hopefully what Godzilla Minus Zero does. Short and sweet, just like the teaser. Yes.
A fall movie. Can't relate. That's gonna be excellent. We got a good fall for us coming up. Yeah.
Warner Brothers at CinemaCon, Clayface, teaser hype, and
let's talk about that.
Hunt for Gollum cast, Game of Thrones first movie. Let's talk about Clayface first, Brian. What have people been saying about Clayface? From what I've heard, is all good. Hopefully not like the stuff that came out of He-Man when they first showed it. But because look at where we are now with He-Man. You had me going crazy about $2 billion. Now I'm like, I don't know if it makes 300. I think this could probably be the biggest flop. But Clayface, Brian, what have people been saying?
So this is an official teaser description. You can't find it online. I've been looking for the last 24 or 36 hours, but Variety has put up a nice write-up description, and it sounds like a 10 out of 10. So they don't give away the story. So thumbs up, keeping that nice and tight. They recognize they only need to sell you on one thing, which is if you're not familiar with Clayface, why should you care? What's interesting? And if you do know who Clayface is, how did we pull this off in live action in a believable way? That's it. To me, that's all you had to do. And that's exactly what the teaser does. So the description, quote from Variety, the trailer shows Matt, meaning the Matt Hagen, the character. Tom Reese Harry's, of course, the actor, sitting in a hospital bed with a bandaged, bloody face. He's attacked by a knife-wielding assailant and has mysterious chemicals pumped into him, giving him his powers. Matt's face changes repeatedly, showing him without an eye or a mouth. And in the final moments, he's sitting in a bathtub and wipes away his entire face. There is also one shadowy shot of him with a giant mace-shaped fist, similar to how he pummeled Batman in the DC comics, end quote. 2 thumbs up, Pablo, for that type of review.
Absolutely. While you were describing it, I'm thinking about the Batman, the animated series. To me, what it tells me, that the people doing this care. They're not seeing, obviously, the success of caring, yo. enough to give you something that when you come out of there, you're going to be wanting more and hopefully a future with what these individuals have brought to us. When it's all about money, that's when things start looking shaky. When you know something that you're doing doesn't feel right, or you can whatever improve it to the place where you want it to be. These guys absolutely care, and a long time ago, I think we even talked about their inspiration was the Batman the Animated Series. One of them.
It is absolutely. James Watkins has said that's the basis of the story and the pitch.
I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying.
Look, I mean, it's just a teaser. It's a description. So we obviously we need to wait to pass final judgment. But already in the approach of this are signs that were never evident in any of Sony's Sinister Six adaptations, which I think is the best comparison because, if you're effectively right, we know who Clayface's foe ought to be, right? It's Batman. So what you're trying to do with these satellite rogues is you're trying to create something compelling to where we ultimately want to see this creation go up against our hero. And so when you take on Clayface, that's a challenge, especially on a low budget. And so for this teaser to be like, hey, we're going to show you that we pulled this off. Supposedly the reaction to him wiping away his face was people were like oohs and ahs.
Impressed, yes.
Yes. Right. And then they show the one little effect of like, yeah, he's going to morph and he's going to create his own weaponry basically out of the clay. Again, it's like the only thing left, which I hope they do not put in the teaser, the only thing left would be dropping a hint of Batman in the film, which again, if the film as successful as Pablo said, it really is the stepping stone to making Clayface something where you're like, someday, when the DCU does cast a Batman, I want to see that Batman go up against this Clayface. And like that, I hope my one big like TBD is I just hope that James Watkins was allowed to horror this up the way he wanted to. I hope there was no interference from who internally to somehow keep this, tonally or content wise closer to the rest of these. Like, if you're going to do this, like, do it. Like, it's R-rated, it's low budget, it's supposed to be horror. Make it horror. Make people horrified. But in the back of their minds be thinking, how's Batman going to deal with this guy?
What have we been saying on this channel? We want to be like, what does Batman have to contend with? That's always been about, how he's going to be able to deal with. Like, we want to, like, when we saw Penguin, okay, how's he going to deal with this? We saw the light go up. How's he going to deal with this? And then after Clayface, how's he going to deal with this? Those are the questions that we want answered. I mean, that was certainly a question when we saw Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. How's he going to deal with this? And that's what made it interesting. If we don't care, then that's a hard thing to sort of pull off. Because all you're going there for is then Batman. That's it. You don't care about anybody else. And that's not the type of Batman that I want. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to care just about Batman. When growing up and watching Batman the Animated Series, I cared about all these characters. Ra's al Ghul, Clayface, even the one with the puppet, all of them, because they were so well done. So let's see if these individuals and the reception, because again, when there's success, there's opportunity to expand. And you talk about those opportunities with this movie. If it does well, if it does the numbers, because this is what, for 45, 50, 60 million?
Not even. I think the budget is between 30 and 40. And most of it supposedly is going to the Clayface effect.
So if we get 300.
Grand slam. Are you kidding me? 10x your 10x your budget?
Cartwheels.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You're doing cartwheels. And then how do we get bigger in Batman's world? Who do we do next?
I think this is actually a really important movie beyond just. I think this is a really important movie in a lot of avenues. Like, I think this is one of those things that, even though it was hatched during James Gunn's DCU, whether he's allowed to continue or whether they completely change the leadership of DC, there will be eyes on the results of this. Because as Pablo said, if this delivers, not even, I mean, 9 to 10 would be amazing. Even if this delivered like 6 or 7 times its budget, there will be more horror adaptations.
Absolutely.
Of certainly Batman universe characters, but other characters in the DC catalog they think might be appropriate for that.
Because then you go the Justice League Dark type of situation.
Absolutely. But I think it might, but I think, and this is where I think it gets really interesting both at DC and at Marvel. If this movie really hits, like it's a critical and commercial success, and proves that you can actually do a true horror movie with one of these characters, I wonder how much it changes the trajectory of things like Justice League Dark and Midnight Suns. Like, I wonder if both sides will start to say, wait a minute, we can actually go into an area we didn't know audiences really wanted to see. And that opens up the path for more movies that fit this category. Like, I'm definitely rooting for that because I think there's a world where that should happen. But as I said, I think this is much more than a throwaway, like late stage DCU project. This is something that could be the gateway to something entirely different in the genre than we've typically seen.
Exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff. Let's see what happens there. The Hunt for
Ironically, I think James Gunn, he wasn't the director. He was the producer of Brightburn, I think.
Okay.
That kid that was like a horrible, like evil Superman horror. That was a horrible. I think he was the producer on that. So that's what I mean by like, that's probably the closest we have, but obviously that character wasn't called Kal-El or anything like that. Like that's the closest we probably got to someone trying to do something like this, but like this is in the universe.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Hunt for Gollum cast, Brian. What have people been saying about that?
So here's the thing. I thought that I was fascinated about the Warner Brothers presentation at CinemaCon more than any other studio, because I was wanted to see like, what would they be allowed to say? What would they be willing to say? Because there's a merger still pending. So you have this pipeline of things that was already being made. And then you have this go forward where usually you want to give the people some totally new stuff that they didn't know about. I think this is an ill-fated idea, but Zaslav was definitely fixated on Lord of the Rings and like wanting to sort of reawaken the franchise. So they get Andy Serkis back as Gollum and as the director. Ian McKellen told everyone who would listen he was coming back as Gandalf one more time, even at age 85. Elijah Wood back as Frodo. Lee Pace back as the Elven King from the Hobbit movies. The most interesting thing that came out of this, honestly, was they recast Aragorn, who Viggo Mortensen played in the original movies, but is now obviously in his mid-60s. He was ironically asked to come back, and he said no. They were going to de-age him, and he said he wouldn't do that. Okay. So Jamie Dornan, most famously of 50 Shades of Grey, is taking over at age 43.
Okay.
And he was the same age, actually, about the same age as Viggo was when he did the original trilogy. They also weirdly got Kate Winslet to play, it looks like a hobbit of some kind in this movie. I have no idea what she's doing in this movie, but they've set this as a Christmas 2027 release. So they clearly view this as like a tentpole big moneymaker. I'm not convinced that this is a good idea, a good use of the IP before the merger closes. They announced it a while ago, but this one, I don't know, man. Like this fell in the category of like, I just am very, very kind of cold and lukewarm about this.
I mean, I wonder, let us know in the comment section below if you guys are big Lord of the Rings fans, even though I think I saw the third film in the theaters. I had seen the other two before that one came out at home or whatever. But I was like, yo, this is grand. It was dope. But I'm still not, I don't know, for some reason, fantasy just doesn't connect with me.
So, you know what I think is the fallacy of this? Lord of the Rings to me is not really an IP. It is a classic set of books from The Hobbit through Return of the King. It is not a universe. And I actually, as someone who loved those 4 books, but has also read everything else Tolkien wrote around those 4 books, that material is not good. He proved it wasn't a universe because his writing in those other books is just not that great. They're not like the Silmarillion is a tough read. His other stuff, like it's not very, so like if it wasn't doable as a universe in his hands as a writer, why do we think it can be a universe in the hands of movie creators? To me, there's only been one thing that I've always wanted to see made that hasn't been attempted, which is I love Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think it's amazing. I think the extended editions are actually truly phenomenal if you love the books. I think his Hobbit trilogy is pretty bad. I'm not a big fan because he went way outside the novels. The CGI looks poor in a lot of those movies. I have always said The Hobbit lends itself to prestige TV. It is a linear story. It is contained. It works great over the course of 1 to 2 seasons if you just follow the book chapter by chapter by chapter. Yeah. HBO should make The Hobbit as a TV series. That is the thing they should be doing with this. They should not be trying to expand and fill in the gaps and like that. This is not the IP for that. And Rings of Power, honestly, on Amazon, which I watch, it's a pretty mediocre TV show because it's attempting to do the same thing. It's trying to fill in the blanks of a story that like doesn't have enough, in my estimation, to merit that.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, the first movie, when does that come out?
No idea. This was just announced. Aegon's Conquest.
I think people will be interested in seeing this because of Aegon is a popular character, correct?
Correct.
And Game of Thrones brings that edge. I can see there being some interest in this because of that edge. And I can see it having more success than I think The Mandalorian will have, being that it's coming from TV and now they're doing movies. We've talked about this over and over again on this channel a long time ago, Sight Beyond Sight stuff, where people were thinking about going.
It was listed in the 2027 and beyond part of the calendar that WB posted.
Okay.
They have a writer. They have a known writer. Well, obviously, George R. R. Martin's in the background, but so Bo Williman of House of Cards and Andor is writing the script for this. So Martin has said, so here's the other thing that caught my attention. So Martin has said that this would be a massive Dune level theatrical film, which means the budget for this is going to be big.
Yeah.
That's what caught my attention. Because as we know, there's a premium. That means you have to believe, if you're going to give this $200 million, which that would be the implication, you have to think that you can get to 500, 600 with a movie in the Game of Thrones universe. The other thing that caught my attention was obviously, as we keep talking about, you're bringing up, the lines between what stays on TV and what goes to the movies continues to blur, right? You could say this is not an existing part of Game of Thrones going to the big screen, but I have maintained for a long time there are episodes in the original series that could have gone to the big screen and been well received. So here we will get a test as to whether something in the Game of Thrones universe can prosper on the big screen and whether audiences still respond to it that way in the way that they, obviously rallied behind the original show. It's a risk though. I think putting $200 million into a Game of Thrones movie is not a layup.
Yeah, it isn't, but that edge counts for something. And they're willing to put money on that. So we'll see.
And it is an IP in a way that like Lord of the Rings is not an IP. This is proving that it is an IP, right? You're seeing like Night of the Seven Kingdoms. People really like that. And even House of the Dragon was a big deal when it first came. Like you're seeing there's enough material here that Martin has written that you're seeing there is something you can build in his world because there's so much material to work with. So we'll see. I mean, this will definitely be a real test of it because if it works, you can guarantee what's going to come next, right? There'll be more.
Yeah. Bigger. People are talking about this perhaps being a nomination for him. He's probably going for it. He'd be like, I got to win this. legitimately. I don't want to be given anything because I've been doing it for a long time. I want to get this because the performance was dope, because this changed your life. Whatever it is that makes people want to vote for you or put you in the running, he wants to do that. Where's your excitement level on this, and what have people been saying?
The thing that was interesting was they showed a full trailer. So whereas in the teaser, you see his outline and his profile, you don't actually see him.
Yeah.
In the trailer, you actually see him. Cruise reportedly, this is a quote, Cruise reportedly has gray receding hair, a thick accent, and a prosthetic nose. So that's why the Les Grossman stuff is coming up, because he's finally doing like hey, I'm not going to try to be handsome leading man Tom Cruise. I'm actually going to look ridiculous and old. Which is notable, right?
Yes.
This guy has not acted his age in Mission Impossible at any point, right? So he's still dating like people that are like half his age in that series.
Yeah. He's trying to get that same accolade and praise that Colin Farrell got. You know what I'm saying? In trying to do something unrecognizable, but still yet unforgettable. So we'll see.
I think it's also sort of a signal of hopefully where he might take his career. And this goes to like, if he does wind up signing on to be the villain in a Miami Vice movie on the back of like, then it would suggest like, okay, maybe Cruise is finally moving into late stage of his career, willing to do something other than break his body on screen for our entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting was what they described in this trailer, which I did not I knew because of the promotional material that it had a comedic element to it. Supposedly there's a lot of action and set pieces, because apparently there's some sort of global catastrophe that he sets off. He supposedly plays a CEO in the oil industry who does some kind of damage to like the polar ice caps that will basically end the world. And he has to set out on a mission to save the world. So there is still that Cruise, like he might be doing some crazy stunts in this, but he's also playing this ridiculous kind of corporate character as opposed to secret agent. So supposedly people were at least sort of like, it was like an eye-opening trailer. I don't know if people like loved it. It was just sort of like, this is not like anything that I have seen.
Okay. And that is interesting. That sparks curiosity to see what will this be.
It's funny you say the thing about the actor. It's interesting to revisit his career and try to think about where he should have won, because he stopped trying in the 21st century. By the time he had gotten to like his whole jumping on Oprah's couch and all that sort of stuff, like those days were gone. He was just Mission Impossible action guy. And then he was like Les Grossman, Rock of Ages cameo guy. So like after Magnolia, he really stopped trying. But though, if you look back, the one that I would argue I can make the best case he should have won, in my opinion, is Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Because Cuba wins, right, for Best Supporting Actor. Cruise loses to Jeffrey Rush in Shine. That doesn't age very well. Ask people around the world if they remember Jeffrey Rush in Shine or if they remember Show Me the Money. I tell you the answer to that one. Yeah. I think Jerry Maguire is actually the one, if you look at his career, you can probably make the best case he should have won Best Actor for that.
When was Born on the 4th of July?
So that was 89.
Okay.
That was 89. I agree. That was he got nominated for that as well. That was I think that was his first. He's been nominated 3 times. I think that was his first nomination.
Let's see. Digger. That's going to be interesting.
It goes, I feel like that's one that's either going to be a 10 or a 2 or a 1. There's almost no world where we're sitting here being like, that's like a 2.5 star. It either like they hit it, Inarritu either crushes it or that thing is a disaster.
Yeah. Let's see what egos win as far as getting what they want. Supergirl and Dune 3 was shown. Brian, was it more the same, or what have people been saying regarding Supergirl and Dune 3? Did they show anything? I think they showed the first 7 minutes or a 7-minute scene.
Yes.
What have people been saying?
So that's what I took note of, actually, and that's why I put it on our list. So in Dune's case, Dune got the last part of the presentation. That was the grand finale, right? Like, so over at Universal, they did the same thing with the Odyssey. The Odyssey, Chris Nolan was there. Odyssey got the tail end of that one. Denis Villeneuve got the tail end of this one. They show the first 7 minutes. Supposedly it's spectacular. It includes the full sequence that they show you a little bit of in the trailer of Javier Bardem's character in that knife fight sort of in the sand. People are like, this looks crazy. And Villeneuve has said, interestingly, this movie has much more action in it than the first two did. There's much more war. There's much more battle motif in this movie as its culmination than the first two, which showed you that, but in very kind of restrained way. So big reactions to that, but mostly new footage.
Yeah.
Supergirl, not new footage. Basically showed you the same fight that they've been showing you in the trailer. I think of her being surrounded by the bad guys defending Ruthie. And it was kind of buried in the train of things that they were kind of giving people clips of. You know, it's funny. We had someone, I think, bring up a very valid, interesting question in one of our show's responses, asking kind of like, what's the big deal? Like, why do people care so, right?
Yeah.
Like, why this is not like, why does this need to be like a big movie, or what is it? Here's why. Because the CEO said so.
Okay. What did he say?
We didn't make Supergirl one of the 4 pillars. We would not have done that. If you asked us, if you asked most comic fans who are the 4 DC pillars, Supergirl would not have been one of those 4 characters.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
That's why it matters. So I agree with that person on merit that, like, yeah, look, and as I said, with the budget being $100 million, 250 to 300 is technically fine. I said, the problem is when the boss above, who granted will not be your boss, and by this time next year, when your boss is saying, I expect that character to be on a par with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
There are expectations.
Exactly.
You have to meet.
Exactly. It's not us who created those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that, but I'm saying the poster's question, I think, is right, which is like, in a normal movie going world, Supergirl is a nice, small project that you hope does well. That's not where they set the bar for themselves. That's the problem.
They made him a pillar, and it's like I don't even think about Supergirl when you mention Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. You're not thinking about it unless the connection is Supergirl and Superman and his world. Superman and his world, yes, we have. I mean, you get what was that one? The cartoon of Batman and Superman where Supergirl is taken by Darkseid. I forget what the name of that one is.
That's a Batman is that a Batman versus Superman movie or no? I know the one you're talking about. I know the one you're talking about where she's kind of like the main, almost the MacGuffin of the movie. But you're right. That's
put her in something like that.
But that speaks to like Supergirl comics is not like a really deep library. Yeah. Like she just doesn't have her own history in the same way that those other 3 characters do. So
absolutely.
But we're still rooting for it, but it's just, it's tough. So
I mean, I thought it was going to be bigger. I don't know if it's going to be bigger than Superman in terms of box office.
I will say this: people do seem to really want to nitpick it. I don't totally know where that's coming from. Like, I see more people with like, I didn't like this thing about it. I didn't like that. I'm like, it doesn't look that bad. Like, I don't know. Like that, there's people that are like all over these various things. Saw someone was really not happy with some of the visual effects in the trailer and like how I was like, I thought it looked okay.
Because you've seen them before.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
Because you've seen it before. That's why they're nitpicking. Like, it isn't anything new. This looks like something I saw already. But
true.
We'll see. Amazon. Anything new there, Brian? There's people talking about Bond. Has anything new broken out?
2 things. So one is they try to really stomp their commitment to 15 theatrical releases a year. I think they're obviously feeling themselves a little bit after Project Hail Mary. So they kind of went to CinemaCon being like, look, we can do it. We can do it. But they kind of made a comment. MGM Studios head Mike Hopkins said, while some of our competitors have dipped their toes in and out of theatrical waters, Netflix, for us, this isn't a test or an experiment, end quote. So 15 a year is what they're telling. Now, here's the thing on Bond. So one is continuing to try to shoot down the rumor mill. Quote, don't get too excited. This is from Courtney Valenti, the head of film. Please know we're taking the time to do this with care and deep respect. It's the dream of a lifetime for all of us to bring audiences this next chapter, and it's a responsibility we don't take lightly. What I can tell you is when you pair one of the most beloved franchises in history with a world-class filmmaking team, meaning Denis Villeneuve, but also Amy Pascal, David Hine, you're setting the stage for something truly worthy of the Bond legacy. When the time is right, we'll have much more to share, end quote. So they continue to shoot down all the casting rumors we keep hearing. I heard a new one this week, which was a little out of left field, which was Louis Partridge, which got people's attention because he, I believe, is like 21.
That's awfully young.
And that was the reaction, was sort of like, would they really be so bold as to kind of do the thing they wouldn't do with Henry Cavill 30 years ago, which is, 20 years ago, and give someone that young the part. But again, now you have the studio saying like, hey, we're kind of nowhere on it yet. Even though Callum Turner apparently feels otherwise, they're trying to tell the world that we're not ready to share that information. And in fairness, like CinemaCon would have been a forum to announce that, right? That would have been an opportunity to unveil who the next Bond was if they were ready. They're clearly not ready to do
that. Yeah, man. I ain't trying to see a young Bond, yo.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's a character who perpetually is of a certain age. It's just like he doesn't. I don't think of him as a 21-year-old.
I don't want to see an inexperienced Bond, yo. I don't care about that. I want to see him on missions and dealing with what he has to deal with at the time.
But I mean, we already did see it. Craig was technically inexperienced. He was just promoted.
Yes,
he was
exactly.
Just promoted.
Exactly.
We saw it. I actually think if I want a redo of any of the Bonds, I actually want the redo on Brosnan because I think the opening of GoldenEye is fabulous. That's the Bond I want to see, right? Because it's like we walked into that guy's Bond and he was ready to go. He's bungee jumping off the dam, like he's wisecracking, with the bad guys, like with no pretense of like how he got there. Like I'm definitely with you. Like it's fine. You can do that with that character. It's just sad for Brosnan. He got these like other films that got goofier and goofier, and it just went off the rails for him. But that opening that Martin Campbell does in GoldenEye, I think is a great Bond intro.
Is that it, Brian?
I think that was it for. There's other studios at CinemaCon, but those are the big ones that we had for this week. So,
were there any mentions of Masters of the Universe?
Well, as I said, we're taping while I was giving you kind of almost real-time updates on Amazon there with Bond and the theatrical stuff. But supposedly they were going to show something new for Masters of the Universe, but we won't know that until we sign off here.
I don't want to see
what else could they show you?
They gave you the line. They gave you the line.
I mean, like, if they're going to show something new, I'm like, what is left for the movies? Like, you showed us the whole you basically showed us a good part of the final fight with Skeletor. We've seen I Have the Power. So what's left? Showing us Battle Cat's transformation? Like, I don't even know, like, what could actually impress us at this point.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of everything that we discussed. What your thoughts on Street Fighter?
The tracking on He-Man is going to be fascinating when that starts to hit.
Yeah.
If that thing is hitting, like, lukewarm or cold, like, that thing is going to be bad. That's going to be a bad outcome. There's almost no way that it's like, by week 4 or 5, people are just discovering that it's good. There's almost no way that that's the case.
Listen, I said from Jump Street, this needs to be either fantastic, $2 billion potential because of how you promoted it. You gave us a trailer where it says Masters of the Universe in many different languages, which is a sign that you're hoping that everybody in the world sees this. And if it's dope, you have a good shot at some huge numbers. $2 billion is crazy, but you have the potential of it. You know what I'm saying? Or to build towards that. Because if you get to $1 billion, this is not the last He-Man. But,
that's not happening. I've started to hear more stuff that this movie is a lot more of a comedy than they've promoted. That comment about poking fun at the cartoon is actually much more central to what you see than how the trailers are trying to portray it as more of like an epic adventure. Is there any chance that works? Is there any chance that if this is like, I'm trying to think of what the analogy would be. Like, I mean, Princess Bride's a classic, but you get where I'm going with that. That's fantasy motif where it's actually, or, like actually more recently, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which wasn't like a huge commercial success, but is well regarded because it's funny and pokes fun at the D&D mythology throughout the film. If He-Man is like that, is there any chance that works?
Yo, go back to He-Man, yo. I can't watch it, yo. Now you want me to see a live action one? That's crazy. But we're gonna go see it just to see what you did with it. That's all. And then never go back again. Yeah, man, Clayface is sounding amazing. And again, you know, you have these individuals out there really thinking seriously about what it is that they want to do and how they want to show it and what makes sense. They're thinking about these things. They're not just throwing money at it. They're not just doing stuff just to do stuff. You know, they're doing it in a way that makes us like, yo, this looks like it's going to be crazy and in a good way.
Yeah, agreed.
The Hobbit or Gollum, a hunt for Gollum. I don't know where this is going to go. I just don't think this is something that they should be betting on. Game of Thrones is a more of a similar situation, but different because of that edge that Game of Thrones brings, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happened there. And Digger is the curiosity and excitement is building. A lot more curious and excitement for me, but to see Tom Cruise do something different, I think people will definitely be interested in going to see that. Footage for Supergirl, saying I don't understand why they even showed anything. If you're gonna show, why are you gonna show me the same thing? I don't know. I want some new stuff. But what does new look like? You know, you already shown us.
Have an ending yet? Have they decided?
I would have been happy. Like, this is the music it's gonna be.
Oh, we finally settled on the music.
Yeah, yo.
3 composers. Yeah.
Dune 3 is obviously getting people more excited for seeing how this is going to end, what this is going to look like, what the performance is going to be by, and the epicness of this as far as the size, Brian. When you see that trailer, you see the amount of people that you see.
Yep. 220 though. 220 though. I think the path to $1 billion for this is opening up.
Okay.
I mean, it's shorter. That's a half hour shorter than the last one.
And if it's crazy, I think people will at least give it two shots.
And it's the end. That's the thing. It's the end. Yeah. There won't be a Dune 4. So.
But yeah, man, there's a lot we talked about. Let us know what you guys think. And again, if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first on the Nerd Gen Report.